Explore the one rule of letting go that could surprise you. This evening's lesson is drawn. See, this is my new way of spelling evening. This evening's lesson is drawn from the meditation manual I'm currently writing, Easy Enlightenment. So let's see here. Several hours ago, this morning, we explored mindfulness. Let's review mindfulness right now. During each inhalation, we are wired to notice. We are wired to notice sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like. We are wired to notice emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. We are wired to notice the external, the internal, the physical, the mental, the pleasurable, the painful, the interesting, the boring, the glorious, and the grotesque. Now, that's going to inspire the question, what do we do with all these things that we notice? Ouch. And that brings us to meditation. Every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, whether we intend to or not, we are automatically and effortlessly accessing our parasympathetic nervous system. It, too, is not located in our brain. Rather, it is found in our spinal cord, in both the lower lumbar region as well as the tippy top of the cervical region. You like that? Tippy top. That's a medical term. This parasympathetic nervous system evolved to support both physical relaxation as well as mental release. Now, things get fun. Let's explore figurative language, because all complex life forms on this planet evolved to think symbolically. As we relax into our exhalation, that which we noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel less graspable. And now we're going to sprinkle some figurative language on top of that. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever we noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as a vast, empty void. Now, any good English teacher will tell you that a simile is only as useful as it is relatable. So, what is a real-world example of a non-graspable, vast, empty void? How about the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although could be tantalizing to the eye, is non-graspable to the hand? So does that mean that once we exhale once, all life's woes just blow away like dust in the wind in a 1970s rock and roll song? No. See, my friends, here's how it works. There are stressors in our life. Stressors are not there because because we are neurotic. Stressors are not there because we have stinking thinking. Stressors are there because that's just how reality works. Some things are beneficial, some things are harmful, some things are neither. And that applies to our circumstances and our bodies and our relationships and our minds. There are all kinds of things going, and a lot of them are legitimately stressful. The fundamental duality in Buddhism is simply shoving at some things and reaching for others. But that impulse is part of our fundamental wiring. It's our survival mechanism. If we didn't reach for water, we would die. If we didn't push away from predators or toxic substances, we would die. So the question isn't the presence of those impulses of dread and desire, but the tyranny. Because most of the time, despite what our central nervous system is telling us, we're not actually being chased by a Bengal tiger. We're not actually being asked to drink, a bucket of turpentine. even though it feels that way. And so the liberation the Buddha offers us is not liberation from the presence of stressors or the presence of the impulses of dread or desire, but freedom from their tyranny. And all that's required to do that is to break their momentum. So I'm a disabled fellow. I'm not the butchest fellow on the block. Let's face it, an angry 4-year-old could probably kick my ass. In a world of ninjas, the ninjas you can see are far less dangerous than the ninjas you can't. Mindfulness makes us aware of what's going on. Meditation helps us to interrupt the momentum of what's going on. So it breaks the spell of what's going on. Hey, sucky things still suck. But they don't control us. They don't transform us into Homer J. Simpson, not really known for his nuance of thought. They help us to be more lucid. So, for instance, I'm going to turn 59 in like 2 months. And so I've had a bunch of relationships. And I've had a bunch of heartbreaks. And a day doesn't go by that the thought of a previous sweetheart doesn't, for at least a moment, cartwheel across the stage of my mind. The thing is to be able to notice what's going on in the moment when it comes up spontaneously without forcing it, but to experience a pattern interrupt. And we are already wired to do that during each exhalation, at least to a certain degree. In the fury of rage, we will gladly die if we can take our enemy with us. In the moment of meditation, it can break the momentum of that rage. That rage still might be present. That enemy still might be an enemy. But we've broken the spell that will cause us to eagerly kill ourselves if it means we take that person with us. That applies to any emotion. And so the Buddha's path is not one of lobotomy. We're not removing our capacity to feel an unpleasant emotion, but we are taming the tyranny of that perception or emotion or intention or thought or memory or imagining. I do look forward to chanting and meditating with you after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I've spent more than 8 hours a day every day studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each sect of Buddhism so that you would not have to. Welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. Now, if at any point you have a specific question about Buddhist chanting, Buddhist meditation, Buddhist philosophy, or how to apply them, don't be shy. Simply type your question in great detail in the chat window as soon as it occurs to you, and I will be elated to answer it. And if I answer it and it still doesn't click, that's okay. Your comprehension is more important than my self-esteem. So be ruthless in your pursuit of wisdom and peace. For the next 60 minutes, I'm at your disposal. But please don't dispose of me. That sounds painful. So for the next few moments, let us chant an excerpt from the fundamental text of Dzogchen. Together. The great elements, all the Bhagavan that exist by nature in all beings. Let's translate that. What is the so-called divine nature of all elements? Our crown's air is spacious, yet non-graspable. Our womb's wind is dynamic, yet non-graspable. Our throat's fire is warm, yet non-graspable. Our navel's earth is solid, yet non-graspable. And our heart's water is wet, yet non-graspable. I think I'm going to add the word experience here. Well, that's odd, isn't it? Let's go over here. And do the old cut a Rooney. And paste. Thank you for your patience. Longtime students will tell you I am just maniacal about editing. Let's continue with the chant. However wrongly it may be conceived, liberation originates from oneself and not elsewhere. So this is a wonderfully subversive passage. The consummate renegade Prahe Vajra, the author of this text, infers that the oppressive master-student relationship prescribed by patriarchy is redundant and not required. The purpose of myself, the outer teacher, is to help you find the inner teacher by the end of tonight's lesson. Oh, darn, did I forget? Yes, look what I did. I forgot to put the right button. I guess really? Supplements? Guys, that's on me. I apologize. Let's try that again. The great elements, all the Bhagavan that exist by nature in all beings. What is the so-called divine nature of all elements? Our crown's experience of air is spacious, yet not graspable. Our womb's experience of wind is dynamic, yet not graspable. Our throat's experience of fire is warm, yet not graspable. Our navel's experience of earth is solid, yet not graspable. And our heart's experience of water is wet, yet not graspable. This is a common theme in the Buddha's teachings. We can notice it, but as we relax into it, it's less tangible. This is known as the teaching of the two truths, which was elucidated by the great South Indian Buddhist philosopher Nagarjuna many centuries ago. Together. However wrongly it may be conceived, liberation originates from oneself and not elsewhere. The consummate renegade, Prahe Vajra, infers that the oppressive master-student relationship prescribed by patriarchy is redundant and not required. So, having tried your patience, let's return to the night's practice text. Whether we call it Satipassaddhi, Proto-Zen, Chan, Dhyana, Mahamudra, Mahasandhi, Atiyoga, Proto-Dzogchen, or Treksho, it's still mindfulness and meditation, just with different names. Let's begin with mindfulness. Every time we inhale, whether we know it or not, whether we mean to or not, we access our sympathetic nervous system. Ensconced not within the 3-pound supercomputer between our ears, it is found in the thoracic region of our spinal cord. It did not evolve to indulge either extreme of mind blanking or active concentration. Instead, it evolved to simply perceive, vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. Yes, the price of perception is vulnerability. Perhaps that is why this archetype of meditation described in Sanskrit as Samantabhadra, Samantabhadri, Karma Mudra is depicted as naked. Well, if we're not supposed to actively concentrate upon our breath, what do we do with our breath? We treat our breath the way a piano student treats their metronome. As we inhale, we could silently and mentally recite the 12 syllables, perceiving this very turbulent play of mind. And as we exhale, we could silently and mentally recite, relaxing into mind's non-graspable nature. No, Virginia, this is not an aphorism or affirmation, because we're not dealing with belief. We're dealing with the truths of neurology that we can feel in our own body to be true. So for the next, 12 to 16 rounds, let's play with this right now. And by the way, let's look at halfway through and then I'll blather some more. And now I'm going to subject you to Jumbo Cam. So I mentioned performing an exercise for 12 to 16 rounds. How do we do that? Simple. Consider, if you will, your left hand. Upon each finger, there's 3 sets of creases. 1, 2, 3. 3 creases, 4 sets of 4 fingers for a total of 12 creases. If you wanted to count to 12, during each inhalation, you could advance your thumb to the next crease. Now, if you are a fast breather like me, because I'm doing all this talking, you might want to count to 16 instead of 12. And so instead of just counting for 3 creases, you would also count the tip for a total of 4. 4 places to count for 4 per finger, multiplied by 4 fingers, gives you 16. Now, this is what some people would describe as Bengali crease counting. There's nothing mystical, there's nothing magical. It's what some people would call an expedient means or a useful tool. Because let's face it, malas can get broken or stolen or confiscated. Very few times our hands get confiscated. If they do, you're in a world of hurt. So let's continue with our exercise. So I've been in many relationships as someone whose lineage is tantric, and sometimes I am the breaker, and other times I'm the breakee. And I'll tell you, it's much more painful to be the breakee. This is something fundamentally painful. extra painful about that. So don't let anybody bully you into thinking, into denigrating you for feeling what you're feeling. That's absurd. We evolved as humans. We are not the swiftest of foot. We are not the strongest of limb. We are not the sharpest of fang, nor the longest of claw. As humans, the key to our survival has been cooperation. We have a secondary reward system that is oxytocin oriented under our brain, that is geared towards, that finds fulfillment in relationships, be those relationships vocational or recreational, platonic or intimate. That's where we find meaning. We are wired that way. And when someone rejects us, it's supposed to be painful. Not psychologically, but neurologically, because it's a survival thing. Our genes are ruthless. They don't really care about our happiness. They just want us to live long enough to pass on our genetic material to the next generation. And the most probable way of us living long enough to do that is for us to be in cooperative relationships. Therefore, being in a cooperative relationship is a source. When it's good, it's great. And if someone tells you it feels like a drug, it's because it is. However, when it's horrible or when it fails, it feels like the earth is opening up and swallowing us whole, like a great Venus flytrap from a comic book a child might read. That is one of the dark facets of evolution. I'm not saying that to minimize your pain, but so that you don't feel like there's something wrong with you. You don't feel like you're weak or you're broken. No, we're supposed to feel pain. We're supposed to, we are capable of loving. We are capable of crying. We are capable of orgasming. We're capable of raging. These things do not evolve in a vacuum. They evolved to support the survival of our species. I'm not going to lie to you and say it's, all puppies and kittens and rainbows and lollipops. Sorry, I am not Barney the dinosaur. But I can tell you this. These tools will help take the edge off. They will help you to cope, although they are not a substitute for working with a really good therapist. There's some people like, I'm too spiritual therapy. Well, dude, if you're sick, see a doctor. If you're hurting, see someone who can help you. If you can find someone to help you, then use whatever tools you can. Take refuge in any port during a storm. Be ruthless in your commitment to not only enduring the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, but in finding a way to thrive despite them. We're going to shift gears from 12-syllable exercises to our first of two 3-syllable exercises. During the next set of inhalations, please silently and mentally recite sitting tall, reminding your body to thus generate a vertical traction between your thorax and your head. During your exhalation, please silently and mentally recite the 3-syllable verb relaxing. So let's pretend we have either been to the beach or we've seen a film of or video of the beach on television. And we can imagine a pier and the vertical pilings of the pier. And we can imagine the waves crashing against the pilings of the pier. We are very much, as we sit in meditation, we are very much like one of those pilings. And the waves are very much like that which we could experience. The perceptions, the emotions, the intentions, the thoughts, the memories, the imaginings, and the combination of many of the above. I've never seen a piling swat at the waves. The waves come, the waves go, and in the short term, the piling remains. And as we sit tall during our in-breath, it's very easy to feel that way, that we are the piling. And as we relax, whatever pain we might endure from the splash of the cold salt water might be softened, even just a little bit. Let's discuss an amazing fringe benefit of mindfulness and meditation. Most teachers, well, Sturgeon's Law reminds us that 90% of everything blows, but not in the fun, tingly way. And so many teachers, think it's marvelous to be rigid, fearful, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel. And so they have no problem telling people to concentrate or to contemplate. These two active processes cause our blood to gather at our amygdala, the bit of tissue at the bottom of our brain, the seat that functions as the seat of aggression and anxiety. I don't know about you, but I have had just enough aggression and anxiety, and I have no desire to sit down and force myself to concentrate and contemplate to get more of them. That would suck. Once again, not in the fun, tingly way. However, when we replace concentration with mindfulness, when we replace contemplation with meditation, our blood shifts to a bit of tissue described as the anterior cingulate gyrus, located just a few centimeters behind our forehead. It functions as the hub of our mirror neurons, the seat of empathy. The great Dzogchen Lamas of Tibet have insisted that the highest love is the spontaneous and uncontrived fringe benefit of mindfulness and meditation. Perhaps that is why this archetype of meditation, described in Tibet as Kuntu Zangpo, Kuntu Zangmo, Yabyum, is depicted as beautiful. As we breathe in, let us silently and mentally recite and notice this. As we exhale, let us continue to recite the three-syllable verb relaxing. So Welcome to the lazy bastard path of enlightenment. The only label we need to use during meditation is this. When we gaze upon the image of the gal, the colored of a cumulus cloud, actively sporting in tantric union, we are reminded that contrivance is trumped by spontaneity. Noticing her partner's passive appreciation of the same tantric union, we are reminded that not all spontaneity is created equal, and that scattered spontaneity is always trumped by love's centered spontaneity that is the effortless byproduct of mindfulness and meditation. We've now come to the one-syllable version of our exercise. As we inhale, please silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this. And as you exhale, please silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb ease, which functions as a synonym of relax. Now that we have climbed to contemplative cruising altitude together as a team, let us meditate as profoundly as Qui-Gon Jinn on Naboo. The English description of this archetype of enlightenment is all good one father and mother. How are we like the all good one, the proverbial all good one? Simple. We are equipped with a central nervous system that is optimized for the easy and quick mastery of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. We have a sympathetic nervous system optimized for awareness, a parasympathetic nervous system optimized for letting go, and an anterior cingulate gyrus optimized for love. We are born to be Buddhas. Let us consider the Four Noble Truths. The first one, from a certain point of view, Jeff Spicoli from Fast Times at Ridgemont High would say, oh, dude, suffering sucks. So we are all subject to stressors. Some circumstantial, some physical, some interpersonal, and some mental. Stress is not an indictment. It is something to be worked with. Our ancestors who ignored stressors got gobbled up by predators, which is a fate I would not recommend. So, if we're wise, we will learn from our stressors and even use them as grist for the mill, as water that turns the water wheel in the mill house of our spiritual development. Our underbrain's primary reward system is dopamine oriented. It's about pleasure and pain. And we evolved mechanisms to dread pain and desire pleasure. Now, when those mechanisms define us, when they control our every choice, our every utterance, our every deed, then that will exacerbate or multiply our stressors. The third noble truth is that there is a liberation. And the liberation the Buddha offers us, whether he was real or archetypical, is simply liberation not from the presence of our ability to dread and desire, but from the tyranny of dread and desire. So we can perceive those dreads and desires without always being mindlessly controlled by them. The malicious and the lazy-minded alike tend to make enlightenment into something difficult and cryptic and mysterious and unattainable. But did you know in the second to the final passage of the Satipatthana Sutta, the discourse on the four bases of mindfulness, the Buddha taught that mastery of the Buddha's path could be accomplished in less than 7 years, or 7 quarters, or 7 months, or 7 fortnights, or 7 weeks, or even 7 days. What if enlightenment was nothing more than the mastery of the Buddha's eightfold path, the fourth noble truth? When I was a little boy, I had great difficulty learning how to tie my shoes. I received consistent instruction after diligent effort, I got to the point where I am now, where I can tie my shoes spontaneously, habitually, easily, and effectively. I've mastered tying my shoes. Any skill, or virtually any skill, can be mastered, providing one is able-bodied, able-minded, has the right instruction, and right effort. What if enlightenment was simply getting so good at the Buddha's Eightfold Path that we practice it spontaneously, habitually, easily, and effectively? It has been the experience of many Buddhist yogis that upon the Buddha's path there is a mental component and a physical component. Our next topic of discussion will be the physical component of the Buddha's path. You can acquire online a Mexican style yoga blanket, fold it into a rectangle, set it upon the floor so your ankles will be comfortable as you sit. Upon that, you can rest a zafu, or a circular meditation cushion for your tush, which you can also acquire online. As you sit, you do not have to assume the full lotus posture. The most ancient Buddhist meditations, Buddhist statues depict the Buddha sitting not with his legs in a pretzel, but with his shins stacked thusly. Any but a person who's ever taken ballet will tell you you turn out not from your knees, which are hinge joints, but from your hips, which are ball joints. We do not force the pose, but if you persist, your body will relax into it, usually in less than a week. If you can set aside 5 minutes once every 12 hours the first week, 10 minutes once every 12 hours the second week, 15 minutes once every 12 hours the third week, progressing thusly by the conclusion of the 15th week. Your body and your mind and your relationships and your circumstances will have gradually and gently adjusted to accommodate this new practice. You could time your sessions using your phone. You can while away the minutes simply practicing along with this live stream, live or recorded. The mental aspect of the Buddha's path is described as the Eightfold Path. The seventh and eighth folds are those of mindfulness and meditation, the instructions of which you have already received during the early part of this evening's live stream. But before we turn our back on our body, let us consider something important. Buddhist meditation was never intended to be an act of asceticism. Only a fool ignores his body's cries of pain. Listen to your body's cries of pain. Is your body asking for more water? Is your body asking for healthier food? Fruits, vegetables, grains, seeds, nuts, legumes. Is it asking for these things? Is your body asking for sunshine, fresh air, and exercise? My favorite form of exercise is walking and geriatric step-back squat thrusts. Take care of your body. It's an excellent tool for your brain. Let us discuss impermanence. The right view of the first fold of the Eightfold Path. With the changing of the seasons, we see the impermanence of a year. With the waxing and the waning of the moon, we see the impermanence of a month. With the rising and the setting of the sun, we see the impermanence of a day. And right now, with the swelling of our chest, sinking of our chest, we feel the impermanence of a breath. Ever-changing one and all, there is nothing permanent to grasp. This is made quite clearly during our practice of the sevenfold of the Eightfold Path mindfulness. As we breathe in, thanks to our sympathetic nervous system, from moment to moment, we can observe our perception changes. From moment to moment, our emotions change. From moment to moment, our intentions change. From moment to moment, our thoughts change. From moment to moment, our memories change. Like the slides in a carousel projector. From moment to moment, our fantasies change. The tumultuous nature of our mind and our body are not a hindrance to the path. They are a tool of the path. They are not a flaw, but a feature. Let us discuss interdependence. As adults, we recognize that our choices affect others. Our communication, both verbal and nonverbal, affects others. Our actions affect others, both directly and indirectly. Perhaps that is why 50% of the Buddha's Eightfold Path pertains to loving kindness. The third fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path is right aspiration, which is described by Tibet's Dzogchen Lamas as wishing love. As mentioned earlier this evening, this wishing love is the effortless byproduct of mindfulness and meditation, and the essence of mental morality. The fourth fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path could be described as kind communication. As we walk through life, we learn that what we say and how we say it affects others. This is the essence of interpersonal morality. I think I miscounted. The fourth fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path is kind conduct, or physical, which is the essence of physical morality. Perhaps that is why the great Karma Jigme Rinpoche insisted that the essence of the Pratimoksha vows was simply nonviolence. The fifth fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path could be described as kind commerce. For instance, choosing not to be the proverbial Karen forever trying to get someone fired, and choosing not to be the proverbial Chad forever striving to drive other concerns out of business. Rather, it's so much wiser to be defined by kindness and cooperation. The sixth fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path serves to answer the question, how are we to know what the kind utterance is, or what the kind behavior is, or what the kind commerce is? And the answer is quite simple. Mindfulness and meditation generate the highest love, which is spontaneous and uncontrived. When our choices, utterances, and deeds flow in the effortless effort of love's centered spontaneity, our life and the lives of those with whom we dwell can become as blissful as the real or imagined paradise of a Buddha of lore. As our love for others burns in our heart, let us exercise the wisdom that refrains from any form of coercion whatsoever. For our job is not to bend others to our will or the will of a real or imagined Buddha. Our job is to live our lives impeccably. And just as moths are drawn to a porch light, those who are ready will be drawn to us. There is a myth that one must practice jhanas or levels of trance or concentration. But that is just the malicious or lazy-minded musings of patriarchy, elitism. Every night when we fall asleep, we go through all 8 levels. Every morning when we wake up, we go through all 8 levels in reverse. The levels of trance are not important. What's important is that we sit and notice and relax and love. Do that, and soon and very soon, you will be the next enlightened one. Let us seal this evening's practice by returning to, whoopsie, look at that, this evening's excerpt. Let's see, I got it push button 14, isn't it? The great elements, all the Bhagavan that exists by nature in all beings, However wrongly it may be conceived, liberation originates from oneself and not elsewhere. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 10 2/3 hours, I would very much like to return to lead tomorrow's early meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.